All right, Colton, much better, much better. All right, good job. Let's go and take a look. So I think the letter forms are coming along quite nicely. I think you're not quite there yet, though. Oops, that's from a different student. Let me get rid of that. Not quite there yet, though, as we can see some variations in the depiction of the letter form. So specifically, let's take a look at these lowercase a's. So we can see, I mean, that's a great start. It really is. A couple of things you want to notice, though. That's a variable width stroke right there. We can clearly see it right there. Look how thin that is right there compared to here. And the other thing is, watch that tail. See how that tail of that lowercase a kind of flares off to the right a little bit at the bottom? You want to definitely represent that there, right there. Okay, same thing with the lowercase n. If we can see right there's a variable, a stroke width right there. See how much thinner that is there than it is right here. So you want to depict that here. So moving forward, excuse me, moving forward, you want to be as accurate as possible in the depiction of your letter forms. So also remember, craft counts. So you want to keep those lines. You keep this as neat as possible. A lot of your interior color is encroaching and exceeding the contour lines of the letter forms themselves. So you want to be careful and be mindful of that for your final iteration. Again, another thing you want to pay attention to get the accuracy in your letter forms is take a look at the negative shapes of the letters. So in other words, let's take a look at that lowercase a. Let's take a look at the negative shapes, or in this case, this is a two-story lowercase a, and it's got an open counter here and a closed counter here. These shapes here are very, very they can define the letter form very much. The letter form very much. The negative space, these counter spaces. So when you're drawing the letters and sketching the letters, be mindful of those shapes there, those interior shapes of the letter form. So that'll help you to establish accuracy in the depiction of this Franklin Gothic typeface. Okay, so I think we're looking pretty good here. Now, the first thing I see is that baseline isn't level. So that's why if the baseline is level, but the baseline is not level, but the mean line is. The baseline goes down this way. It slants down this way. With the mean line being level, that means only one thing, that these letters are going to get bigger as we progress to the right. And we can clearly see that. This A is clearly bigger than this A. So the first thing you want to do is establish that perfectly level baseline. I'm going to use the top of this document as a straight edge, and we'll bring this down here. I'm going to place it at the bottom of that A right there, and boy, we can see that you're not too bad. You're not too bad at all. But if I place that right there, you can see that this side of the baseline is a little bit higher than this side. So the first thing you want to do is you want to make sure that is perfectly level, okay? That baseline perfectly level, and then you can mark your guidelines for your mean line and cap line. Make sure those are perfectly parallel with that perfectly level baseline. Okay, now let's talk about spacing. I think you've established great spacing here, and the reason I say that is this would be considered to be normal spacing. There's a couple of areas that are too narrow. There's the space between the A and the N is too narrow right there. We need to open that up a little bit right here. Okay. And then I think the space between this is too wide as well. I'm basing those comments off this following formula. And I did leave, I'll leave this formula in my notes for your grading for this assignment. But basically the formula is this, excuse me, the closest letter spacing should be between two curved letter forms. Okay. Curve here, two curved letter forms, that's your closest spacing. The next closest spacing or would be the space between a straight letter form and a curved letter form. Then the widest space should be between two straight letter forms. And those adjustments are going to make it appear as though the volume between letters is equal. Okay, so we can see the surface area between these two straight letter forms is much less than the surface area between these two letter forms. And let's disregard this open counter right here. Let's just pretend this letter comes right down here. Take a look at that negative space. You can see all these little extra areas hold more volume. So we're going to reduce that volume by bringing these closer together, increase this volume by bringing these farther apart to make the volume between letters appear to be equal. Think about it like pouring a pitcher of water in here and in here at the same time. They should fill up at the exact same rate. All of the letters, in fact. So again, use that formula to establish your kerning, but that's the basic formula. This word doesn't have any diagonals, So we won't talk about diagonals just yet in terms of letter spacing. But I'd like to see those reflections made in your final submission. But really, really much, much better improvement on the second iteration. So, all right, Colton, if you have any questions at all, please let me know. Thank you very much.